Hello students, welcome back. Today is the second session of physical and chemical changes. In our previous session, we were discussing about the physical changes, properties of physical changes and also chemical changes, and we done number of examples on it, right? So today let us start with the rancidity. Rancidity is nothing but spoiling of food, you can say, spoiling of food. It's a very common term which you see in everyday life, right? So in rancidity is also an example for chemical change. Let us see an example. Say we have fruits, okay, raw fruit, okay. We have raw fruit, okay. When time passes by, this fruits will become ripened food, right? Ripened fruit, right? Definitely this change is a physical change or a chemical change? Definitely it is a chemical change. Here the ripened fruit cannot be reversed to a raw fruit, okay, but when time passes by, this ripened fruit will spoil, okay. Similarly with butter, okay, when you keep the butter for room temperature for number of days, what is going to happen? The butter is going to get spoiled and the taste of the butter will also change. So that is nothing but these are all examples for chemical change, but also an example for rancidity. Rancidity is nothing but wherein a substance will undergo a change called chemical change with the what? With the change in taste as well as change in odor. I can write it here. Change in taste and odor. Odor means smell. The smell of the food or smell of the substance will change. That is what we call as rancidity, right? Now let us see the differences between physical and chemical change. Now you might be able to differentiate very easily, right? So the first point, what we can write? What the first point is? We can say it is a temporary change. It is a temporary change, right? Physical change is a temporary change. Similarly, what would be the chemical change? It is a permanent change. You cannot get that back, substance back, right? Now, second point, it is reversible. It is reversible change. Whereas chemical change is a irreversible change. It is an irreversible change, right? Then we have next one. There is no change in mass. No change in mass. There is no change in mass, right? And in chemical change, there is change in mass. There is change in mass. Okay, right? Then we have no loss or gain of energy. No loss or gain of energy, right? Then here there is loss or gain of, there is loss or gain of energy, right? Then what else, what point you can say? Here we can say it as there is a permanent change and it is a temporary change, right? And we have the last point, the physical properties will change but not its composition. We took an example for ice and water, right? Here physical properties as well as the composition also will be changing. Entirely new substance is formed, and here we can say no new substance is formed. Here no new substance is formed. And here, because the physical properties and the composition of the substance is changing, new substance is formed. Right? New substance is formed. So here we can say Physical change as well as chemical change is temporary change. Physical change is a temporary change, whereas chemical change is a permanent change. Once the substance has changed from one form to another form, we cannot revert it back. Therefore, we can say it as, if we can't revert it back, we can say it is a irreversible change, and it is reversible change. Then there is a change in mass. Sorry, there is no change in mass. The mass of the substance will not change, whereas due to its permanent change, due to the change in its properties, there is a change in the mass. And there is a loss, no loss or gain of any energy. Definitely there is a loss or gain of energy. Physical properties will, if the physical properties is changing, if solid is changing to liquid or liquid is changing to gas, but its composition will remain same. What are the component, whatever the substance components are there, that will remain same. Whereas both physical as well as composition of the substance will change. The last point we can write here is no new substance is formed here, and we have here some new substance, entirely new substance is formed. Okay, students? So as we discussed that chemical change can also be called as chemical reaction. So what is chemical reaction? When two or more substances undergo a chemical change. So when a chemical change takes place, when one substance forms to another new substance is formed with loss or gain of energy. Whenever there is a loss or gain of energy, some entirely new substance is formed. That is what we call as chemical change. And that leads to some new substance. That new substance can also be said as products. In our chemistry language, that new substance, whichever has been got, we call them it as products. So that is what is called as chemical reaction. Chemical reaction is nothing but when two or more substances undergo a chemical change with loss or gain of energy, giving rise to some new substance or product is called as a chemical reaction. Now see, here we have sodium chloride is reacting with silver nitrate, gives silver chloride and sodium nitrate, right? So this is a chemical reaction. Therein some substance is formed, some substance is there, and after reaction some new substance is formed. It is what we call as chemical reaction. Here what happens, the close bonds, whatever the close bonds were there, that will break into to form a new bond, right? This is what we call as a chemical reaction, wherein we have got some substance will undergo a change and that new formed substance is formed. That is what we call as products. Okay students, now let us see what are those conditions on which the chemical reaction takes place. So the first condition is close contact. Close contact in the sense whenever the substance comes in very close with each other, then there is a possibility of chemical reaction. So what are those closer? If the substances are coming closer, how we can bring the substance closer? We can bring the substance closer either by grinding them or by dissolving them in a particular given solvent. So we know water is a universal solvent, so usually we use water for dissolving them. So we can say that close contact, chemical reaction can take place when the substances are in close contact. Like for example, when sodium reacts with water, what is going to happen? It releases the products are formed, can be called as sodium hydroxide plus H2O, right? Sorry, not H2O. The hydrogen gas is going to liberate out into the atmosphere. So this is the example for close contact, wherein we are dissolving sodium into the water. When sodium is dissolved into the water, sodium hydroxide is formed, liberating hydrogen gas into the atmosphere. Okay, so this is about close contact. The second condition for the chemical reaction is the state of the reactant. We know there are three states: solids, liquids and gases. So whenever the reaction has taken place, we know depending upon the state of a particular reactant. Like solids, molecules are closely packed. Because closely packed, kinetic energy of the molecules is least, whereas in liquids is less, and it is in the, whereas in the gases we have more space of attraction, and because gases have more space between them, they can collide more, and whereas solids, they have least collision. Therefore, we can say gases have collision property, or we can say more collision property. You can say they have the ability of state of the reaction takes place more frequently in the gaseous state compared to that of the solid and liquids. The third condition for chemical reaction is heat. Okay, whenever reactants react in presence of heat, such a reaction we call it as thermal reaction. Thermal in the sense heat. Thermal is called as heat. Some of the reactants are there, no doubt if we keep them close with each other like our first condition, but the reaction will not take place. And this is like one of the example of it. If in presence of heat, if we bring some substances, what is going to happen? It will diffuses into new products, like we have potassium chlorate. Okay, we have potassium chlorate. Potassium chlorate decomposes on heating. So when you heat potassium chlorate, it will liberate into potassium chloride, and oxygen gas is going to liberate out into the atmosphere. So this has taken place how? In the presence of heat. When a reaction takes place in presence of heat, we also call it as what? Thermal reaction. Now see one more example. We have iron plus sulfur. Okay, no doubt if iron and sulfur are kept very close with each other, if we react or if we grind them also, reaction is not going to take place. Similarly, if we heat iron and sulfur, iron sulfide is formed, right? This is again a reaction called as thermal reaction, which is taking place in presence of heat. Okay, so what is the reason here? You know that kinetic energy of the particle is proportional to temperature from chapter number 1, kinetic molecular theory, wherein if temperature is increasing, kinetic energy of the substance is also increasing. This means what? When we heat a substance, okay, they expand. When the collision becomes more. When the collision becomes more, there is a chance of the rate of the reaction also increases. Why? Because on heating. Because of heat becomes more, kinetic energy of the molecule becomes more, kinetic energy of the molecule becomes more, collision becomes more. If collision becomes more, rate of the reaction increases, and normally the rate of the reaction increases every 10-degree rise in temperature. This question is there in your in-text. Every 10-degree rise in temperature. So this is about heat and thermal reaction. Okay students, so now the fourth point is light, that is photochemical reaction. This is when the reaction takes place in presence of light, we call it as photochemical reaction. Okay, photo means light. Okay, so the reaction when it takes place in presence of light, like see, hydrogen reacts with chlorine in presence of sunlight, gives hydrochloric acid, right? Similarly, ozone. We know in the atmosphere there is an ozone layer. How that ozone layer is formed? Because in the ozone layer, atmosphere is present. If in that atmosphere, definitely oxygen molecules are present. And when this oxygen molecule comes in direct contact with UV light, UV rays are coming from the sun. When this oxygen reacts with UV light, forms ozone. Okay, this is again one more reaction which is taking place in presence of light. Similarly, we have plants undergo photosynthesis, right? Carbon dioxide and water, carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, water from the soil, and sunlight from the sun. Okay, when this undergoes a reaction, it forms glucose. You know glucose means what? Glucose is a derivative of carbohydrate, which is a food for plants. Plus 6O2 oxygen, fresh oxygen gets liberated into the atmosphere. So these are all reactions which takes place in presence of sunlight. Okay. So the sixth condition is pressure. When lot of pressure is given to some reactants, there forms a chemical reaction. Like for example, nitrogen and hydrogen, when it undergoes a reaction with very high pressure, see the pressure given to here, therefore ammonia is formed. Similarly, we have with the sulfur, right? Sulfur reacts with oxygen in presence of vanadium pentoxide. Here it's a catalyst. In coming some conditions we'll be talking about it. It is a catalyst, vanadium pentoxide. It is a catalyst. I'll be talking about it now further. So when sulfur dioxide reacts with more oxygen, forms sulfur oxide, which is a product here. These are reactants. When these reactants undergoes high pressure, a new compound is or a new product is formed. So the sixth condition is electricity. Electricity means when a reaction takes place in presence of electricity, we call it as electrolytic reaction. How this electrolytic reaction takes place? Say for example, we have taken acidulated water. Acidulated water means water in which we have added some acid, like you can say citric acid. Like lemon we have, in lemon we have acid which is called as citric acid. When the water is mixed with citric acid, it forms an acidulated water. When this acidulated water, when we pass electricity to this acidulated water, hydrogen gas and oxygen gas is liberating. Definitely it's a chemical reaction here which is taking place. So this is what we call as electrolytic reaction. So the next we have condition, we have catalyst. Okay, this is also called as catalytic reaction. What is this catalytic reaction? Catalytic reaction, here in a reaction we will be using a catalyst. The work of the catalyst is to increase the rate of the reaction. Suppose if a reaction is taking around 400 degrees Celsius, if it's reacting, the work of the catalyst is to decrease the rate of the reaction. So here we have vanadium pentoxide. Sulfur is reacting with oxygen, sulfur dioxide is reacting with oxygen to form sulfur trioxide. Here, so here catalyst uses vanadium pentoxide. Similarly, we have one more here, when potassium oxide is reacting with manganese. Okay, so therefore, potassium chloride and oxygen is liberating. So here the catalyst used is magnesium, right? So these are all the catalyst. Whenever a reaction takes place in presence of catalyst, okay, that is which enhances the rate of reaction or it decreases the rate of reaction. Such a reaction we call as catalytic reaction. Nothing to do with, but it has nothing to do with the components or the reactant. It will not do anything, it will not interfere the reactants nor it will interfere the products, but it is only thing of the work of the catalyst is to increase or decrease the rate of the reaction. Such reaction we call it as catalytic reaction, which is catalyst. The seventh condition is promoter. So promoters are added with catalyst. The work of the promoter is to increase the efficiency of the reaction. So molybdenum is another promoter which is added with the catalyst in the reaction, during the reaction. The work of the promoter, the efficiency, how accurate we want the product, that can be determined by adding promoter in it. So example for the promoter is molybdenum. Okay, so this is about the promoters. Next we have concentration of the reactant. Next we have concentration of the reactant. Concentration of the reactant, in the more the concentration of the reactant, that much efficient we will get at the product. See, with the increase in the concentration of the reactant, the rate of the reaction increases. How best the concentration of the reactants are, how best the concentration of the reactant, whatever the reactants we have taken, the product will be that much accurate. So more the concentration of the reactant, more is the number of collision and faster is the rate of reaction. So the reaction or the chemical reaction takes place takes place depending upon the concentration of the reactants. How perfect we have got the concentration of the reactants, that much accurate will be our chemical reaction. So this was all about physical and chemical changes, my dear students. So the worksheet number 2, which is there in your textbook, the first main, classify the following reaction on the basis in terms of given below. The first one is catalytic reaction. So second one is thermal reaction. Third one is photochemical reaction. Fourth one is electrolytic reaction. Second main, fill in the blanks. Chemical reaction occurs when the substance are brought close contact. So when we bring it very close with each other, there is a chances of chemical reaction. Iron and sulfur combine to form what? Iron sulfide. Similarly, third one, dash is a catalyst to convert sulfur dioxide to sulfur trioxide. What is that catalyst here? I told you it is vanadium pentoxide. Fourth one, dash is a promoter. Which is a promoter? Molybdenum is a promoter which is used to manufacture ammonia. Fifth one, if dash are more, the rate of the reaction increases. What is going to increase? If collision is more, the rate of the reaction is going to increase. So this was all about the physical and chemical changes. Notes will be sent to you via PDF file. I hope the concepts are clear, and thank you very much.